You're listening to the Power Platform People podcast on the CRM Audio Network with the bearded CRM guy Ian Connolly and TheMarkChristie. The guys will take you on a journey of the Power Platform community. Here we go. Thanks for listening. Remember to subscribe to the podcast with your favourite app and check out crm.audio for information on all the other shows on the network.
So welcome along to the next edition of our podcast. Today, me and Mark are going to have a chat with some people about some lifestyle choices, really. And for me, I think it's going to be a bit of an educational piece. I'm trying about this subject in general, right? And in that way, I just have what I have. I do what I do because that's just what's convenient. It's a naivety in my part to some extent, I think. You've recently kind of changed this lifestyle yourself, Mark, do you think?
Yes, so kind of. I'm like 99. Well, actually, after the weekend, I'm probably now I can fully do it. But we'll get into that one later on because I've got something to share with Elaiza later on.
Yeah. So
and I've just given away basically who's on the podcast now.
Yeah, exactly. So that's 50% of who's on the podcast at the moment. Well, a quarter. It's not really 50 because obviously me and you are here. Mark and Ian, of course. We've got Elaiza and Alison. If you guys want to introduce yourself, hello.
Hello, after you, Elaiza.
Cool. So for those of you who are listening, I am Elaiza Benitez. I am based out in Wellington in New Zealand. I am a consultant in the Dynamics 365 and Power Platform world, and all of these beautiful people on this podcast today I've met on the Twitter sphere. And yeah, over to you, Alison.
Thank you, Elaiza. And my name's Alison Mulligan, and I am based in London with Maximus, and we are filthy recruiters, so everyone hates us. But I am also a D365 user.
And a magician who vanishes by the looks of things.
Sorry, my sound just went out and came back. I'm a D365 user and a power addict. I've been trying to build some crappy power apps in my spare time. They weren't very good, but that's a story for another day. But it's like Elaiza said, I think I met all of these guys through Twitter actually. So all hail Twitter.
It's all community driven, isn't it?
Yeah.
So on that point, the topic of today's podcast is kind of where I become a little bit of an outcast in this one as a carnivore, a meat eater, one of the dirty meat eaters, and obviously everybody else here isn't. So
can I just correct you for one thing? One thing that you said there. You said that for once you're an outcast.
I know. I said it and I questioned it myself. To be fair, I was like, is it really the first time? I don't know if it actually. No, it's definitely not. Right? Definitely not the first time an outcast. But thanks for bringing that up. I'm definitely not an outcast anymore because I'm also now an MVP.
You are indeed. Well done.
This is the first podcast we've done since I'm an MVP, right? So that's a little interesting one. But
should have done the podcast all on camera, recorded like a video podcast, and had your MVP award in the background. Like standards are slipping in.
But I'm humbled and honoured to be able to do that when I get the box.
Yes.
Oh, you haven't got your box yet? Okay.
No, I haven't got it yet. So, yeah.
It's
10 days in being an MVP. Apparently so.
It's winging its way to chock-full COVID.
I'll just leave it sitting in the corner for a couple of days and build anticipation before I open that. But anyway, enough for me. Let's come back to the topic of the podcast. I'll let you guys introduce it. Yeah, veganism, vegetarianism, and different lifestyle choices around it, and being in the community. What that kind of means, what does that bring, or how difficult it is, what the obstacles you have around it. Is it difficult? Is it not difficult? I don't know.
So we will get onto that one, but just for a little bit of background from you guys on, obviously you've given us what your normal background is, but from a sort of vegan lifestyle, how long have you been vegan for?
Are you both full vegan? I don't know actually.
Vegan in terms of eating, just because vegan means differently for some people. because there are some people out there who consider vegan as your whole life is veganism. So from what you wear to the products that you use to what you eat. And so when I say I'm vegan, it's more about my eating rather than 100% vegan for what I wear, eat, and use every day. But I'm working towards it, though. But it is quite hard because, things like shoes, they have animal products, believe it or not. So it's very hard to try and be vegan in all areas of life if you live somewhere where it's not widely embraced and you don't find those types of products in the stores and you have to go look for it online. But for me, I've been eating plant-based for over 2 years now. It was kind of inevitable. I don't know if it's the same for you, Alison, because I know every person's journey is different. For me, it was I used to eat meat, and there were a couple of signs quite early on, like in terms of being in the kitchen. I don't know, for some reason I was always uncomfortable cutting chicken. I know that's weird, but when you see like the white cartilage or there's like a splash of like, a blood clot, and then you slice it, it just kind of like pops, and I always went, oh my God, I don't know if I can handle this. And then the other thing was, over the years, I suppose I could use the term educated. I educated myself over time from reading and documentaries about what actually happens in our food industry. And so at one point I became pescatarian, and that led to being a vegetarian. And then eventually one day I was like, okay, I'm just going to commit all the way and see what happens. And that was me over 2 years ago. I just made the decision and went for it. And it's been good. It's been good.
So it's more around the eating habits then. Obviously we all know what happens in the slaughterhouses and how things are done that way. I don't think we don't need to shock and awe anyone with that, but it's more around the sort of doing your bit for the animals is really the main reason that you decided to go down that route.
Yeah, so I've always been an animal lover, and at one point in my childhood I had a baby chick pet, but sad story. One day my brother left it unsupervised and the neighbor's cat got it, so that was the end of that. It was quite sad, but it was through that bonding with my pet chick that, I don't know, I just really liked it. And then I started to question, how come we eat other animals, but then animals that we do have a connection with, that is a pet, we put that aside. And so for me it's all,
why would you eat a chicken and not a dog?
Yeah, and that's culture based as well, right?
Yeah,
so it's certain places do eat dogs, certain places do eat cats. That's a delicacy in some places, the same as guinea pigs are a delicacy in some places. But here you would never think to eat a guinea pig. But there's certain places where that's a national dish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's certain places where bats are a delicacy.
Well, that's true. Look at the chaos that comes from eating a bat, apparently,
see?
Right?
Dirty so, Alison, what about your journey? Was yours similar?
I read some of what Elaiza said there really resonated with me. That I too those bits of sinew in meat, and like when you crack an egg open and there's that little
the egg
in there, and you just go, I'm not okay with that at all. And I really similar. And funnily enough, chicken was the one for me as well, Elaiza. It was like, I don't know what it is about that bit of, I don't know, it's like a nerve or something that runs through the chicken breast, isn't it? And it's just revolting. But it's probably a little bit difficult for me to admit, but I became vegetarian over 25 years ago, like when I was a teenager, so
Wow.
30 years ago, because I love animals, and I could not, like, I couldn't make the distinction between what's an animal that you pet and you love, and what's an animal that you eat. They're all just animals. And I'm not racist, and I'm not speciesist either. I don't believe that we have any right to kill another human or another living being of any kind. But for a long time, I said that I didn't eat meat because it disagreed with me, because it was easier to say that than it was to continually have this just head-locking argument about why you don't eat meat. And it just wasn't worth it. It just wasn't worth the aggravation and the stress of it. So I just said, I can't eat meat, so I don't eat it, right? And I got really sick on tinned seafood. I was telling Andy Bibby about this today. I got so sick, really, like I was unable to move for vomiting and shitting myself because I ate tinned clams. Who buys tinned seafood? I mean, that's Russian roulette, isn't it? You just get everything that you ask for if you buy tinned seafood. I've never been able to eat anything that even is remotely fishy since then. Like, somebody recommended to me, Charlotte, actually, our CFO, said, Corn did these vegan fish fingers, and they're really delicious. Have them in a sandwich. So I thought, I'll give them a try, but they're still they're not very fishy, but they're still too fishy for me. I just can't do it. It's just too much.
Something fishy about that, eh?
Do you know what's actually really nice? Prince's do a alternative tuna and mayo. It's like seared watermelon. It's actually really nice.
Get the
So we'll come back to that shit, right?
Yeah, we'll come back to that. So carry on with my journey. So so I've been vegetarian for actually probably 30 years, nearer 30 years. Yeah, it will be 30 years actually. I always loved cheese. I was a bit hit and miss with eggs, depending on if you crack them open and they have the red bit in. But Stuart, my boyfriend, read an article like 5-6 years ago. Sorry, I don't know what's up with my headset. It just cuts out. But no, apparently.
It's cool. So start that again. The line of Stuart, my boyfriend.
Yeah, Stuart read an article about 5 years ago saying that a high proportion of the world's ultra athletes are vegan, and he's super into working out and being fit and healthy and stuff. So he said, let's do it for 30 days and see how we feel. And like a week in, both of us were like 100%. We're like, and for me, it was just giving up cheese and milk and eggs and stuff like that. But like, still, like, I felt so much better. And at that time, I was on low dose chemotherapy as a treatment for an autoimmune illness that I've had since birth. It's kind of like an arthritis type illness. And this medication was so heavy that I used to have to go and have have a blood test every month to check that my liver was still functioning correctly, because your liver clears stuff out of your system and it puts it under such heavy load. And through all the years of I've had an elbow replacement, and I need a knee replacement, and I've had all of this treatment for years and years for this autoimmune illness. And almost overnight, just giving up dairy, all of my inflammatory markers went to nil, and I take no medication now for something that I've had medication for all of my life. So, if somebody just said to me, like when I was a kid, just stop eating dairy, I'd have gone, all right. Everything would have been fine. But at the same time Stuart read that article, and we decided to give it a go. It was also around about the time that Cowspiracy was doing the rounds. I'm pretty sure that's about 5 years ago. And we watched that, and then it led us to watching Earthlings, and something else, and
Forks Over Knives.
Yeah, watched Forks Over Knives. I think Earthlings and Cowspiracy were the two that really hit me in the feels. And like I had no idea that the egg side and the dairy side in many instances is worse than how the animals are treated for meat. And so just some really, really horrific practices that go on. So like I kind of sealed my mind then that was it. I wasn't going to be exploitative. And I decided actually to become what's referred to as straight edge, which means that I don't drink, I don't do drugs.
Yeah,
I don't.
Same as me.
Yeah.
Is that not just like a cool thing that the kids do when they go to gigs and they draw X's in their hands these days and stand with a cross?
It is, and I dress up like Henry Rollins and pretend to be a member of Black Flag, and I don't think anyone's been fooled because my neck is surprisingly not wide enough. So
do you have a Dare t-shirt?
I don't have a Dare t-shirt. I feel really
you're letting the side down there.
Really
you can't be straight edge if you don't have a Dare t-shirt and a black skip cap.
Honestly, how have I even called myself straight edge in any way, shape, or form? It's just bonkers. But the one difference is like straight edge is you're supposed to be atheist as well, and I'm not atheist. I'm more agnostic. I believe that there is there's a higher frequency to everything in the universe, without getting lovey-dovey about it. There's something out there. I don't think it's a god or a deity, but there is something that has a bigger understanding of what goes on than we do. So I'm not entirely straight edge, and I have taken drugs in the last 2 years. I went and did mushrooms in Amsterdam.
That's vegetarian, no, that's fruit.
It's vegan.
Fine, right? It's vegan, right?
Completely fine.
Yeah.
I mean, mushrooms get kept in the dark and fed and shit.
Might take a lot I also do try and buy ethical clothing, vegan clothing and stuff, but you know what, you can drive yourself nuts with it. So we switched from not using wool to cotton, but then cotton's really bad for the environment, the way that it's farmed and all of that kind of thing, and organic cotton, it uses 10 times the resources of regular cotton, and it's a dirty farming process, so you can't have that. And actually sheep shearing isn't really terrible if the sheep are really cared for, but you don't really know if the sheep are being cared for or not being cared for. And so the thing is, people seem to feel like there's a requirement to be perfect with all of these things, and there isn't. You don't have to be 100% vegan. Even in what you eat, you don't have to be 100% vegan. But if you're 80% vegan, the fewer cows and chickens that you are responsible for the death or mistreatment of is still better, right? None of this has to be perfect. It's just about making a shift in the right direction, I think.
I think all the stuff you've said, there's a few questions I had coming into this, and it was that lifestyle choice element. Is it food, or is it a lifestyle choice? And obviously, as you say, Elaiza and Alison both touched on it there. You can go crazy with it, even down to a car. Most cars, the plastic isn't vegan, isn't vegetarian. So then you kind of look at that. So there's upholstery and Apple Watch straps or other watch straps, other brands available, and you can go crazy. You say, Elaiza, I know people that have got pleather shoes, if you want, for a better word, don't know what it's really called, but it's vegan friendly shoes, and they have to pay an absolute fortune for them because it's not mainstream. I don't know what it's like now. It may be better now. Obviously Alison's got the stigma there herself, where 20 years ago, and so it wasn't accepted to be anything other than eating meat or just having a normal diet. And I say normal, and I do inverted commas in my fingers at the time, because that was the kind of common thing at that point in time. And as you say, there's other documentaries that have come out. Like recently there was The Game Changer, which was a big, massive one that started a massive movement, probably at the time that Mark kind of made a change as well.
Yep.
And I was heavily doing a lot of stuff at the gym at that point in time, and I thought about it, looked at The Game Changer, looked at how it's talking about, we start breaking down the blood, start doing all of that sort of stuff as well. And for as much as there's stuff there that's positive about promoting that, for me, I can also find lots of other articles that completely contradict what they're saying.
Yeah.
So I find it really hard trying to educate myself and look about it as somebody who I've grown up eating meat. I have my cousin was vegetarian and then was vegetarian but was eating fish, so pescatarian, isn't it? It's pescatarian, eats fish, so that kind of stuff, but still call himself vegetarian. And then people that went vegan, and I know people that went vegan, I rented a flat with a few of my friends, and one of the girls was vegetarian but used to eat What's-It and bread sandwiches because that was all that she would want to eat. And I'm like, well, that's not a vegetarian diet. You're going to have to 100% substitute so much with other tablets to take, other vitamins and bits and pieces. And I appreciate you can be an absolute world athlete. You can be a power lifter. You can be a normal guy down the street being vegetarian or vegan. But for me, I find that it's easier for me. I'll go and cut chicken. I'll go and cut beef. I genuinely think if I needed to, I could slaughter something if I needed to have that, right? I don't know if I'd know what I was doing.
The thing is,
you
probably could, but actually, like, that's like, it depends on what angle you come at this from, right? Like, so Elaiza and I both have an ethical choice. We've made an ethical choice, but you're also Elaiza, you keep fit, don't you? You're like super healthy, you work out a lot and stuff like that. So I'm assuming there's a fitness angle to it for you as well.
I don't know.
Not intentionally, obviously, is the answer there.
Yeah, so with my fitness, I do it just to keep sane, I suppose, in terms of my well-being. It is something I enjoy. Obviously, there are days where I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this, but then I do it, and then I feel fine. But however, I have noticed that since I have gone vegan, it's been a lot better. Like, I can run for longer. I don't know if that's a placebo effect or anything, but it's good. And it's funny when you were talking about the whole dairy thing, because I can relate to that. So when I used to live and work in Melbourne in Australia, so what I have for breakfast is porridge, is oats. And back then I used to use dairy milk, so cow's milk. And at one point, every morning I started feeling sick, like I wanted to throw up, and there were times where I couldn't eat my porridge. And then someone one day suggested, oh, maybe you just can't handle dairy anymore. So then I switched to using something like soy milk or almond milk. I went through all of the plant-based milks to find out which one I liked, and then I didn't feel sick anymore. So I think over time my body just didn't like dairy, because I remember it, I used to feel sick afterwards, like, I don't know, maybe like 30 minutes later after it had digested, and it bugged me. And then one day I just stopped, and that's how it happened. Yeah.
I don't drink a lot of milk. I will have milk, but like in coffee and stuff, I'll have oat milk or soy milk as a choice. But that choice for me is because, similar to what you're saying with milk, I'm not a fan of milk, but I think it was years ago. And it's a mindset thing for 100% for me. And it's, I suppose to some extent, it touches on as well the kind of well-being of the animals. Cows have got obviously like the 7 stomachs or whatever it is, and I remember,
just like me,
I'm sure they do. They have multiple stomachs for doing different things in the way that they process and digest it and things like that. But I remember reading or hearing at some point in time that part of the reason why they have to pasteurize milk, and it's not because it's the quickest thing in the world when it goes pasteurize. But yeah, thanks. Because they milk the cows so much and they're force milked, and it's not natural. It's not a natural cycle that they have it. It's producing extra in their stomachs. They get ulcers and different bits and pieces like that. So therefore they pop, and that's why they have to do all this processing the milk. And I was like, oh my God, I don't really want to drink milk again. I don't know how true that is or not. It's one of its urban myths. I think it probably is true. I'm saying that because I don't have a scientific background to back it up, but I believe that is true. So for me, I think there's an element of that's why I don't drink milk. But it's interesting that both yourself and Alison are saying that you have that adversity of milk, and obviously Alison, for her, it's 100% work. She's now off meds and stuff like that. But as a spanner in the works, every kid now has this allergy to milk, or they have an allergy to this, or they have an allergy to that. Why is that? Is that because we're mass producing stuff and we're mass slaughtering animals and doing everything else and doing mechanically reclaimed meats and stuff like that, where it's not good? It's not the whole hearty food that your parents grew up with, because that was au naturel and it wasn't pumped full of sulfates and different chemicals. Like, you can go and buy slices of I'm the one that's the meat eater here, and I'm actually saying the meat that you buy is crap, right? How do you think that? You can go and buy cold cuts from a deli counter that's pumped full of sulfates and different stuff to make that meat last weeks. That's not natural. No. So should you shift or not? And I don't know. I think that's where I sit.
So Elaiza, do you find, I know you said you maybe thought it was a placebo effect, but working out's a lot easier, or you feel you've got more energy working out since you've switched?
Yeah, it's funny because before, I still remember this, before I went vegan, my mood and my energy levels weren't as great. And when I became vegan, I noticed probably about after a month where I can wake up early. I can keep working, even up until 8 or 9 in the evenings, because usually I do my work and then I do like the stuff that I want to do after work, the real stuff that I want to do, let's be honest. In the evening.
The interesting bits.
Yeah, just doing fun stuff with Power Automate. And, I can keep going up until, around 9 or 10:30. And I just found I had more zest for life and more energy, and it was a lot more happier. And, people initially didn't know that I had changed going from eating meat to being vegan. And I think people eventually noticed one day, in terms of my workmates, when I just started to just have salads, but without the meat. And yeah, it's been good. And I really enjoy it in terms of the whole not eating meat and being fit. A book that I did get, this is way before I went vegan, it was given to me as a present. It's called The No Meat Athlete, and it's about this guy who is a marathon runner. I think he's also an ultra marathon runner, and he won his races as a vegetarian, and then one year he decided to go vegan, and from running as a vegan, he noticed that his speed times significantly improved. And then he just kept with it. And so that's why he decided to write that book. And it actually has actual recipes for athletes to help them with their endurance and, what they need to eat the day before a big run and all of that. And I still have that book today. It's in.
Was he the one that was in Game Changers?
I don't.
Because he was an ultra marathon runner who switched and then basically was setting personal bests and everything. Like he also got in the Guinness Book of Records doing like a world, I don't know, tour.
See, there's part of me that hears stories like this, and I feel like I'm Val Kilmer and Top Gun and want to go, oh shit, right? There's something else that's changed, and I say that because I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't prove it, disprove it, but I'm like, does changing a diet have that sort of impact on you? I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. Actually,
I think so, because I guess it all comes down to what you eat, right? And when you go vegan, well, I don't know about all vegans, but certainly for me, when I went vegan, I eat whole foods. Like, I don't really eat a lot of processed food. So things like, Beyond Meat or the Impossible Burger. Well, we don't really have that in New Zealand. I think it's starting to come out, but it's not readily available here. And it wasn't in Australia at the time. But I tend to stay away from, the mock meats that you can buy in the deli or the frozen section. I will eat mock meat if I am out somewhere and, it's on the menu, then I'll give it a go. But generally at home, I eat a lot of whole foods. And when you eat a lot of whole foods, because your insides aren't spending much time trying to break down something that is processed, it fills you up for longer and you just suck the energy out of whatever you've eaten. And so you're pretty much just a productive bee all day.
No, I completely agree with that 100%. And I think that's kind of what I was saying that slightly earlier as well, is everything that was so mass produced, whether it's meat and everything else, it doesn't matter. There's no real from the ground to your plate or from the farm to your plate. It's all going through so many different processes. But the mock meat is an interesting one. It comes back to the point that we said we'd come back to. And Mark was talking about with it's not mock meat, but just everything that's a mock alternative. Yeah. Watermelon as tuna fish, chicken sausages, corn bacon. That's all stuff that not having made that choice really confuses me. Yeah. Because I think if you've made a choice to move away from eating meat, why do you want something that's meat flavoured?
I just sorry, Elaiza, just to jump in there. I agree with everything that Elaiza said, which is I eat a whole foods plant-based diet. And so most of what we eat at home is rice, beans. We do eat tofu, which you could argue is a processed food, but it's not in this. I don't class that as being in the same thing. We do make our own seitan as a protein source, but generally we get protein from vegetables, beans, rice, that kind of thing. And like, it doesn't matter if you eat meat or if you're pescatarian or you're vegetarian or you're vegan. If you eat like shit, you're going to feel like shit. And if you look at like you can't outrun a bad diet either. It doesn't matter how much you work out. If you eat crap and you eat too much and you have too many calories, and you're going to be overweight and you're going to be in bad shape. The vegetarians I know go, oh yeah, I got really sick when I was vegetarian and I had to go back to eating meat. And I was like, what kind of things did you eat? Oh, pizza, beans, shit like that. And you're like, well, of course you felt like shit. Anybody would feel like shit eating stuff like that. And like, if you look at how everybody shops, like, this is driven by consumer behavior. Everybody wants everything cheap. They want stack it high, sell it cheap. They want to shop in Lidl and places like that. And if you shop there, you're buying meat from animals that were treated horrifically, and they were pumped full of shit, cheap antibiotics and all kinds of steroids. They were kept in awful conditions, so their meat is absolutely filled with cortisol. And where do you think that goes when you eat it? Because it doesn't get flushed out by cooking. It goes into your system. And there's a reason why we're seeing increased instances of people with type 1 and type 2 diabetes, and seeing increased instances of people with so much fat around their belly from all the extra cortisol they're eating, because it makes you put on fat around your belly. And all of that stuff is really bad for you. But like, fine, if you're going to eat meat, but go to a place where you know how that animal was treated, and that it was looked after really, really well, and that the animal isn't pumped full of antibiotics and steroids.
Yeah. See, I've been 7-8 months now that I've been vegan or vegetarian / vegan. So I've been trying to do 5 days a week vegan, 2 days a week veggie. And it's only eggs are the one thing that I've been really struggling with, because I can make an omelette and load that omelette up with mushrooms, pepper, spring onion, and have something that'll last. Like, when I have a full omelette with all that, I'm full for hours. I'm like, I don't need anything for ages. And that was the one thing kind of that was my part that I was struggling with. But I'm still trying to find out what's good, what's bad, what's indifferent. Because, as you said there, Alison, if you buy processed stuff, Beyond Burgers, we picked up some Beyond Burgers last week. It's like 450 calories per patty. Then you look at putting like your thin on it, and then by the time you've put stuff on it, that's like almost as bad as going to McDonald's. So yeah, being vegan's great and having a good diet. But if you buy shite, like vegan chocolate, oh yeah, look at all this new vegan chocolate. Yeah, it's great, but it's still fucking chocolate. It's
really expensive. Yeah, it's really expensive. It's full of sugar. It's junk food. Like, junk food is junk food, whether it's plant-based or not. Exactly. Junk is junk, right? And it's fine if you want to. Like, I bought shares in Beyond Meat because I can see that being really popular. But I don't actually buy Beyond Meat burgers. I think the last time Stuart and I bought burgers from the supermarket, it's got to be over a month ago at the closest. We just don't buy that stuff. We don't eat it. Like, a friend of mine came round and she said, I'm a bit peckish. Have you got something to eat? And she was like, have you got any pasta? No. Have you got any bread? No. Have you got any potatoes? No. Don't eat any of that stuff. It's not part of our diet. It's just not what we eat, right? Well, potatoes now, because I bought an air fryer. So, like, potatoes are back on the menu over here.
But that's only till you get in grips with the air fryer, and then you'll substitute that for something else.
Exactly. Like
sweet potatoes.
Yeah,
right.
Well, sweet potatoes, yeah. Like, I wasn't a fan of sweet potato fries, but Mark gave me a recipe for making them with Nando's peri-peri salt. So,
Yum.
kind of, yeah, right. And now I'm converting to those instead. So,
that sounds so
But I think it's. I try to think how to word this in a kind of sensitive way. No, fuck it. It's just what it is, right?
Just throw it out there.
So it's easy to turn around and say, yeah, it's all about the food that you buy, and it's great. So obviously during lockdown, I've been going local. I've been avoiding the supermarkets. I've been going to like the farm shop, and I've been getting meat that's been butchered at the farm. I've been buying veg that's grown there and stuff like that, or they're getting it straight from the fruit market and it's coming there. It's costing me so much more money than it ever did before to buy convenience store, go to Asda, go to the supermarket, get everything. And I'm fortunate that I can do that. And because I've got less travel costs and stuff, it's fine to pay that extra money. It balances out, right? It's like everybody's saying that their travel costs and stuff in this whole COVID lockdown is minimised, but their food and alcohol costs have went up massively because everybody's just eating and drinking.
Yeah.
But there's lots of people who can't afford to do that. There's lots of people who have to go to the stores where you're getting 10 chunks of meat, 10 big bits of frozen meat, and everything.
But you know
frozen.
what? But that's fine. And if that's the situation that you find yourself in, and you have a limited budget, then the one thing I would cut out is shit meat. And I would go, right, I can't buy organic, but I can buy veg that I know are clear. You can at least buy your fruits and vegetables fresh and make more of your meals with that, and maybe get a block of tofu, or, you know, but like if you're expecting that you're going to eat meat every day and it's going to be good quality and it's not going to be pumped full of shit and it's not going to be junk, then like that's not realistically going to happen. But you, like, if you can only afford the lower end of stuff, then make all of your food about fresh vegetables, right? Make it about stuff that you can buy cheaply, because I promise you, Stuart and I eat like kings every single week. We literally eat like the Roman Empire, right? And I feed the two of us for £40. I spend £40 or £45 at the supermarket every week to feed two people for the week, and he eats like a teenager, like a hungry teenager. So
you're like 30 years in. You get 30 years experience at doing this.
That's fair, right? That's a fair point. But do you know what? You just need to, like, the thing is, the other thing that I have, and like any one of you that isn't Ian that has gone down this vegan journey will back me up here. Like, everybody expects to go vegan by veganizing what they already eat, and that's not what we did. Yeah. We changed what we eat. We just went like, we don't eat vegetable lasagna. We just don't eat lasagna. We eat different stuff.
I think that's the linchpin right there, Alison. That is it. Yeah, fair enough. You can substitute things. Like, I could be flexitarian, and I could have a vegetarian lasagna, or I could have a veggie burger of some sort. Like even one of the beetroot burgers where it bleeds. I mean, that is for a meat eater who wants to be vegetarian. That's not for a vegetarian, right?
Of course it is.
Right?
Yeah, but the cows will thank you for it, right?
Exactly. So that's what that part is there.
And I think that's where I've definitely, at the very start, that's where I was going on. I was like, oh yeah, let's get the veggie lasagna, let's get the Beyond Burger, let's get the fishless fish fingers and all that sort of stuff. Whereas
the Beyond Burgers are the ones that bleed. Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
Is it? Right, okay.
It's weird, yeah. That freaked me out a little bit. I didn't know if I'd put... So the other thing that I've been doing is, like, when I have bought that sort of stuff, I find a lot of them just have no taste to them. So I've been putting so much seasoning on it that the seasoning's probably making it worse for me.
Here's the best tip. Anyone, vegan or non-vegan, will ever give you.
Don't buy from Beyond Burger because you're lining Alison's pocket.
Yeah, but buy all of Beyond Burger. No, right. So the best thing is, everybody thinks MSG is bad for them because some restaurant critic that lived in New York in the 80s kept going to a Chinese restaurant like all day, every day, or like 5 times a week, and he was getting migraines, and he decided and wrote a paper on it, and he decided that it was because of the MSG in the food in the Chinese restaurant. And ever since then, everybody's gone, you can't, like, if you're having MSG, you're having a stroke, right?
Is that where that comes from?
That's where that comes from, right? MSG is actually better for you than salt or soy sauce because it's way lower in sodium, and there are actually no statistically proved side effects from it whatsoever, and it is the delicious maker, I promise you.
Was that just like aspartame then? Like, it's good for you?
Yeah,
just like to say it's rubbish.
Aspartame actually is a bit of a different. Well, we can move on to that if you like. That's a different one. But MSG actually is not bad for you. I mean, you wouldn't want to like eat it by the spoonful, but like if you used it in place of salt, it's actually healthier for you than using salt. It's got less sodium, so it's actually going to do less damage to you. And there's a reason why Japanese people are generally not very overweight, but all die of stroke and heart attack because they've got so much salt in their diet, so sodium, right? So MSG is the delicious maker. You could put MSG on a pile of shit and it will taste delicious. It is literally
right.
The best thing.
That's the next social event that we're at, Alison. You're going to get served up a steaming hot pile of MSG shit.
Yes.
I'll especially order that for you.
Can I bring one of my dog's turds, actually? Because my dogs are vegan as well. So,
that's the next question. That was one of my questions, right?
Oh my gosh.
Because I was curious about this, right? So this comes back to this kind of moving on a little bit topic-wise. You three are vegetarian or vegan. We'll just say vegan because, Mark, you're almost there and that is the goal for you, right? So you're all vegan.
Well, I am. I've got I'm going to just, before we go into the dogs one, right? So Elaiza gave me a recipe for doing omelettes.
Yeah.
Oh, with the
using
chickpea
flour.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chickpea flour.
It looks
I'd
good.
done it at the weekend. It was okay. I got some black salt today delivered.
The kalak namak,
Oh,
yes.
Yes, that's what I'm buying this
Delicious.
weekend as well.
Yes.
And that,
Indian
honestly,
black salt.
yep, that's the one, yep. And honestly, that made the difference now. So the texture itself.
Ian's like, what's a French toast?
No, I'm good with this actually. Like,
So
I love chickpeas.
it's basically, right, so it was like chickpea flour, baking soda. I've also used onion powder as well in it.
And garlic powder.
I never put any garlic powder in it, but that's a good shout.
Onion powder and garlic powder are like best buddies, Mark.
Yeah, they
I
are.
don't-
That's why they sell them separate.
Flavour maker.
Okay,
The
so
flavour.
I've got garlic powder there anyway, as in my spice rack, so I'll put that in, and then this black salt, and then it was like 250 ml of water, mix it all together, boom, it was like nothing else. So I mean,
that has more protein than like 4 eggs, because chickpea flour, the gram flour, is usually either purely chickpea or it's chickpea and yellow split pea, and it has such a high but digestible protein profile. It's amazing.
That's why
stuff.
pakora is amazing, because that's made with gram flour.
Yeah,
right.
and papadoms and chapatis and naan breads and bhajis, all of that stuff, all using gram flour. Yeah.
Honestly, that was one thing. So I was getting, my dog walker also has some rescue hens. So I was using, I mean, at least it was the way I was telling myself anyway, they were rescue hens, they were laying eggs, they were doing it regardless.
Yep.
So that was my social conscious on that one. But now that I can actually make this and it tastes good and it's a good substitute.
So what's the texture like?
It's a bit, it's a mix between like an omelette or scrambled egg and pancake. It's just like in between. It's not a pancake and it's not scrambled egg. It could be because I'm fucking up cooking it, but that's the texture. And it's, honestly, it tastes amazing. That black salt is just...
the kala namak, the black salt, I use that to make tofu scrambled eggs, because one of my favourite dishes was scrambled egg on toast.
Yeah.
No red dot dependent. If I cracked an egg open and there was a red dot in there, it was all bets were off. There was no way any egg was happening today.
But it doesn't mean anything if that's an egg, because they're not.
I know, but I was squeamish about it. And it just, I think my dad told me when I was a kid, chick forming or something like that, and I've just gone, no way. Like, and going back to the thing about the pasteurized milk, like if you think about your food in terms of, if you have to cook it for it not to make you sick, or if you have to pasteurize it for it not to make you sick, then should you really eat it at all? Should it really go into your body? Like, you know, there's a reason. Pregnant women
the circle of life, though, as well.
What circle of life?
Like the whole animals, wild animals.
I'll tell you what.
The world's not overrun. The world's not overrun by flies because spiders eat the flies. The world's not overrun by spiders because birds eat the spiders.
All right. Well, if that were true, then we would be getting eaten by lions and tigers and bears, but we're not.
We have guns.
But then you've already broken the circle of life, haven't you?
No, we just championed it.
Like, so if you actually want that to happen, if you actually want the circle of life to, I tell you what, Ian, if you can chase down a cow and kill it with your own teeth and eat it raw, then you can have it. How about that?
No. This is like where I feel like I'm going to quote aliens. I'm going to be like, no, we've got sharp knives, sticks, frickin' lasers. We've got all of that. I don't need to chase it down. Yeah,
I've broken the circle of life. That's the thing. Like, if you want to have the circle of life, then
I adapted.
But then be prepared.
I adapted, Alison.
But like, if you can't have it always. If you want the circle of life, otherwise it's just humans in the middle of a food chain all the way around them, isn't it? Where we just eat everything: bats, lions, chickens, goats, whatever. Other people, well, like. Where do you draw the line? But like, if you want to carry on the circle of life thing, then yeah, fine. So, but just be prepared to be chased by tigers when you leave the house in the morning. And
there's a reason why in Africa they have slam doors. Actually, that's not lions. That's other people killing other people. Sorry, I got that wrong.
But it was a nice sideline. I enjoyed it tremendously. But yeah. So like, who wants to rag on me for the vegan dogs?
No, it was more
Well,
a
no,
question. It was a question around, like, that's your lifestyle choice. If I was to come to your house, Alison, can I bring meat in with me? Because obviously you're a non-meat house. Would you prepare meat for someone? Would you know if you were having a family over? Would you happily prepare meat?
I would disinfect everything in my kitchen after you left, but I would do it for you if that's. But you know what? Like, if I go around to a friend's house for dinner, they cook vegan. They generally cook vegan. There's one.
Just because that's who you associate with, because it's a clique.
No, they're not vegan. Like my friends Alex and Warren are not vegan in any way, shape, or form. But like she'll cook vegan, or she'll cook 2 meals. She'll cook something vegan for us, and she'll make she makes a Thai curry, and she has a vegan pot and a pot with chicken. But like everything else is the same kind of thing. And if anybody comes around here, like I generally cook vegan, because most people say, actually, why don't you cook me something that you normally eat?
Yeah. To be fair, that's how I would go, right? It's like, I think I have that mindset. If you go to another country or somebody else's house, it's their domain, right? You can't.
I remember we went out for food. Oh, when was it? It was before Christmas. Remember, we went out to grab some food, and we're like, "Well, you're vegan, so let's just find a vegan place." And it was like, you never thought anything about it. We just found somewhere that had that food.
Because because I eat both ways. I'll eat anything, so I don't actually really care.
Yeah.
As much as I'll happily go to a vegan place as long as it's good food. I'm the same as, like, I wouldn't be going somewhere where the vegetarian option is, do you want a vegetable tart? I mean, that's an excuse, right?
Just while you said that, right? Did I tell you at the wedding that I went to about 6 months ago? The vegan option was 1 bit of broccoli on a sliced potato. Seriously, it was. They had one potato.
That's the chef was super offended, right? Would you mean you've got vegetarians and vegans?
It was 1 potato sliced into like you do fritters.
Oh, they do Hasselback potato.
Fuck knows what it was. But honestly, I was like, they paid £40 for that. I'm like,
I want to get their money back. Jesus.
It's because somebody sprinkled salt from a great height and made their arm look like a swan when they were doing it.
It was black salt they sprinkled from a great height.
How about yourself, Elaiza? Like, when it comes to you for eating with friends and family and stuff that come round, what's your sort of take? Are you a non-meat household completely, or would you do it, or what's the deal there?
I've had a friend come over, and so husband and wife, and they're not vegans. And so what I did was I went and grabbed some pies from the local farmers market. So this lady, she sold vegan pies as well as meat pies. And so I picked, like, I don't know, I think it was like steak and cheese and a lamb pie. And so we put them in the oven. But man, that smell of the lamb pie, I was like, oh, I can't deal with this. So when they left, I had to open the windows to try and get, that aroma out.
Open the windows, light up the candles, get the incense burning.
No, because I hadn't smelled that in a long time, in my own kitchen. So I was just like, oh, I don't know if I enjoy this. Well, I didn't enjoy it. But when I go around to my mom's or my sister's place, they're pretty understanding. They'll have something around for me to eat, like whether it's a snack or an actual meal. So every now and then we go around to my parents' house for like a weekend dinner, which is quite nice. And in terms of when we go to events, so Microsoft events, it can be hit and miss. So my first proper Microsoft event was the Microsoft MVP Summit last year. And, I clearly put vegan in my dietary requirements. That was a struggle. I'm not gonna lie.
Really?
Yeah. So we had like a dinner with everyone, in the business applications category. So they put this dinner for you, and the only thing that I could eat was, I think it was a coleslaw, and everyone else around me was just, tucking into, things like pasta and the meats and stuff. And so when I got back to my hotel, I had to go and grab something quickly to eat and then meet up with everyone else at this bar called Joey's. And then the next Microsoft event that I had attended last year was the Ignite Orlando event. And that was actually pretty good. And that's when I met Manuela for the first time. And she was saying that the previous year they had a really good, buffet for people with different dietary requirements. So there's this area in the hall where people who have dietary requirements can go to. So they have things like halal, kosher, vegan, gluten intolerant, and all of those types of dietary requirements. So it was actually really nice. Yeah, and
how
the
was
food
the Embass catering?
The food.
Mine was excellent.
Early in the morning. Yeah, so I think it's getting better. I don't know, but normally I have food in my bag with me.
Yeah.
So I have
So you
like
prepare
fruit.
for actually,
Yeah,
prepare for the worst.
yeah, because the last thing I want is to, starve. And I remember when I went to I'm pretty sure it was the first Dynamics 365 Saturday in Wellington for the break in the morning tea. It was rice crackers and a slither of avocado. And I was like, really? This is what I have.
And avocado is really bad. It might taste nice. I like avocado, but it's so bad for the farming because it's now such a popular fruit or veg or whatever it is.
People are being killed over this shit.
People are being killed for it. People are changing water flows, natural water flows, redirecting them because avocados need so much water to grow. Yeah. It's crazy. But anyway, that's a sideline.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I kind of do the same, or have been doing the same. I've been taking additional things with me just in case. Like I've been taking like a packet of protein nuts. I've even started carrying little containers of soya milk around with me as well.
See, I do that too. I just carry like Haribo and stuff like that, like really good sweets.
I know for a podcast that I know it's a podcast and not visual, but
I have those. Megan Walker. So Megan Walker, if you're listening, she sent me some. These
tangworm things.
Oh, okay.
They're actually really nice.
Yeah, for purpose of people that can't see here, I feel like I'm a police officer. For the purpose of the tape, the person here is showing some tangworms in a yellow packet that are vegan.
Again,
who gave them to you, Elaiza?
Pardon?
Who gave them to you?
Megan Walker.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so last year, or maybe it was the year before as well, I sent people some care packages. I think I sent one to Megan, Ryan, and Sarah Creechley. This was before I left Melbourne, and Megan, she sent me one. And inside was, some vegan treats. And I still have those, the candy that she gave me. Because the funny thing with me is when it comes to junk food, it stays in my cupboard for a long time because I don't really reach out for junk food anymore. And so those sweets that she gave me have actually shipped all the way from Melbourne to here in New Zealand, and I still haven't eaten them.
So from the UK to Melbourne to New Zealand.
Yeah. I checked the expiry date; it's fine. But
where were they made first off? Like that, they've travelled so far a bit. It's an interesting point actually that you talk about the confidence in food and stuff like that. I know we kind of mentioned it at the top of this podcast when we started recording, but me and Mark, when we made a very last minute adjustment to Scottish Summit, so we had 2 lots of food. When we were preparing for Scottish Summit, we had a speaker's meal the night before, and we had food on the day for the attendees and stuff like that. The speaker's meal the night before, we had this flippant, let's just do 50-50, a vegan, like a vegetarian or vegan curry and a meat curry. Just do it. We were feeding like 90 people, so let's just do 45 each way, straight down the middle. And then Mark was like, do you know what? See, for the food on the actual day, I'm just doing vegetarian and vegan. I was like, oh, we can't do that. Like, no way, we can't do that. And then I thought, actually, why can't we? Let's just do it. Let's make a stand and do it. And we had vegan sandwiches and cakes and stuff like that. And to be fair, it was gone. I didn't even get any of it. I had to go across the road to the supermarket to go and buy food for myself.
Are you for real? So the entire Scottish Summit was plant-based?
Yes.
Oh my God.
700 people plant-based.
Wow.
We had two complaints about it. Now, they weren't really even complaints. So if you think for one day, we had 700 people eating plant-based meal.
Wow, that's
and
amazing.
the comments were like, I would have liked to have had a choice. And we were like, well, you got lunch for free. It was a free event. So there goes your choice, right? Your choice is if you don't like it, go and buy a sandwich.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a complete plant-based day, and the night before, the vegetarian or vegan option was way better. In effect, it was basically the same curry sauce. It was just like cauliflower that was in it rather than chicken,
Yeah.
and it was a million times better.
Yeah, it was numbers. It was really good.
I didn't even get any.
Like I remember, like the amount of times I've been to like a D365 Saturday at the Microsoft offices, and they have a gender-neutral toilet, but they have no vegan options. Like, how is that even possible in this day and age? So the last time I went there, I ended up.
Exercise.
I managed to get a packet of ready salted Walker's crisps and a banana, and that's all I ate all day. They didn't even have any soy milk for coffee.
See, I was speaking at a Microsoft event in Edinburgh. Now, all the guests and attendees were given their form. What would you like? What are your dietary requirements? As a speaker, I wasn't given one.
Ah,
wow.
So I was like, I just got what was there. Again, I had my, the Graze nuts, the protein mix nuts that you get.
Yeah.
I basically keep a bag of them with
You like to keep a bag? You like to keep a sack of grazed nuts, do you?
Yes, I like to graze my nuts on the AstroTurf. Yep. That's just.
There's always one, isn't there? Tonight, Matthew, I'll be playing the role of Keith Watley.
But no, that surprised me a little bit. I mean, it wasn't. Do you know what? I didn't even think about it until I got there on the day, and because I was there early and setting up, do you want a cup of tea? I'm like, yeah. And then I thought, wait a minute, you're not going to have soy milk, are you? I'm like. So yeah, I'm still at times naive to some of the things where I should be maybe a little bit more prepared. But when I'm going to work, I mean, when was it? Well, obviously before all this nonsense happened, they were making soup and bringing soup in for everyone. So I actually made soup and took a vegan soup into the office. Now I know most folk are like, well, isn't all soup vegan? But
that's not because you stock cubes.
Exactly,
it's stock cubes have got milk in them.
Yeah,
a lot of them. Yeah.
So you can get vegan stock cubes, or you use is it bowl, or what's it called now?
Bouillon,
that's one. Yep. Yeah. I can never pronounce that.
You can get some really nice ones. There's some gorgeous ones that are American that you can get on Amazon now. I'll send you some links. They're so good. But
we don't have Amazon here.
What?
You know?
No.
Do we need to send you a care package?
We don't have Amazon. We don't have IKEA. We don't have Costco. We don't have Aldi. Yeah, we're like our own little country.
Well, yeah, but like it's a beautiful country, right? So
Yeah, it is.
I'm amazed that you don't have Amazon.
Yeah, we don't.
There's somewhere else that doesn't have Amazon that I heard about, like Spain or somewhere like that doesn't have Amazon.
Is that like political reasons that just have never moved into that territory?
Don't have an office. They don't have. They haven't set up in Spain anyway. They just haven't bothered setting up a distribution.
So their advert, their whole little tagline of the A to the Z, the wee arrow, isn't true. They don't go from A to Z. They're liars.
Nope. Definitely not.
Wow.
To yeah.
Wow.
Do you have like a Whole Foods market or Trader Joe's or anything like that?
No, we don't. We just have supermarkets and farmers markets. That's about it. I tend to buy my fruit and veggies from the farmers market, and then anything that I can't get, I'll get from the supermarket. But we also have, like the specialized shops. So we have like the Southeast Asian shops where you can get spices and the different sources from around the world. So that's also around, but we don't have Whole Foods. We don't have Trader Joe's. Yeah, there's no Aldi. I first learned of Aldi when I moved to Australia. I was like, oh, what is this?
So here's an interesting thing, because I first learned of Aldi when I worked in Germany. My first recruitment job was out in Frankfurt, Germany. And I went to the supermarkets there, and like their supermarkets are basically Aldi and Lidl. Those are the like supermarkets. Yeah. They don't have like Sainsbury's and Tesco and stuff like that. And like zero customer service, right? Which was a shock for me in 1998. Like, and they like the staff don't talk to you. They don't even look at you. In fact, like if you try and talk to them, they'll just say, get out. Like, it's bonkers place. So like that was a real shock to me. It was a massive shock. But funnily enough, I used to buy soy milk when I was in Germany because their dairy out there is awful. I don't know what they do to it, but it's just dreadful.
I think I could stop. Well, I don't have a lot of dairy, but certainly like bread and stuff like that. If I'd stayed in a different country, I'd totally eat less. The bread in Germany is rubbish. The bread in America is rubbish.
No, American bread is awesome. You just need
No,
to
it's
get
too sweet.
no, not the packaged stuff. You need to go to the bakers and get like sourdough and
Ah,
fresh
yeah, okay. So
loaves
if you
and
go to
stuff
talk
like
about, if you go to talk about that, I suppose I've got the beard for it, so I'm okay to eat sourdough and stuff,
Yeah,
right?
you totally fit right in with the hipster.
Yeah. Well, so interesting about the whole around the world, in terms of everyone's eating and the different styles of food. So for most of you who are listening, hopefully would know that I traveled the world last year. So I went to all these different countries, not only for, enjoying life, but also meeting the Microsoft community along the way. And, what was nice was that everyone was welcoming and understanding of me being vegan. So there was probably only one event where they didn't have vegan options, but everywhere else was pretty good. Like I remember when I was in Singapore, the Microsoft community that I did meet, went out of their way to make sure that I had something vegan to eat. And then same in the Netherlands, Rebecca and Daniel Laskowitz made sure that there was something vegan for me before I presented, and it was a vegan pizza. And then the next one was probably over in Washington, D.C., like Mike Ox, James Novak. They made sure that, I could fill in a form. And I'm sorry, Mark didn't have that same experience where I actually had like a vegan lunch ready for me, which was nice. So it was all good. And yeah, everyone in the community has been really nice and understanding about it, which is good. I mean, before I did go vegan, I did used to get anxiety when it came to these events because I never knew if people would be accepting. I don't know what it is. It's just that mental thing where you don't want to be an inconvenience for everyone and you don't want to make a big deal out of it. But then at the same time, you don't want to have that headache all day because you haven't eaten enough food and, kind of be grumpy towards the end. That's really hard. But I think now I'm comfortable with it. And now, if I know that I am going to an event and if it is people that don't know me in terms of how I eat, then I just have food with me in my bag so that I don't get that awful headache throughout the day.
See, that's where I think I'm all right because I do a lot of fasting as well.
Yeah.
So if I go somewhere and there isn't food, I can just go without.
Oh man, I'm the opposite.
I get hangry. I don't know how he does it. I'm the same. Elaiza, I do not understand how he fasts. He's like, oh, I've not eaten in 17 bajillion hours. I'm like, I'd be ripping your face off right now if that was me.
No. Next week it is 36 hours with no food, 12 hours with, and 36.
That gives me anxiety. That gives me anxiety even hearing that.
So you're going to go for 2.5 days? No, day and a half. God,
day and a
maths
half.
Right.
Yeah.
A day and a half without eating.
Yeah, so
that's how shocked you are by it, Alison. You can't
Holy
even
shit.
work it out. You just know it's a hell of a long
I
time.
can't. Like it was
Right,
just too much. I just fainted.
So I finish eating, say Monday night at 8 o'clock. That'll be me then till 8 o'clock on Wednesday morning. Then Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock, that'll be me then till Friday morning at 8 o'clock.
I'm noping right out of that. No.
Now, bearing in mind, Alison, he does this when he is also doing walks, cycles, out and about. It's not like he's 36 hours in his bed fasting. He's actually still active.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's not fasting. Otherwise, it's just a hangover.
Oh, really? All right.
Laying in bed, not eating anything. Like,
I mean, I don't know what hangovers you have. I know you don't drink, but I don't know what hangovers you have where you don't eat. When I have a hangover, all I want to do is eat Dominoes.
No, because I've been honking my ring up for about 36 hours.
No, I can do that easily.
Elaiza, do you drink?
Me? Yeah, I do, but not as much anymore. Like, obviously, when I was a lot younger, true story, I used to party 4 days a week when I was in university. Yes. I don't know how I survived. Well, actually, I do. It's called flirting and getting people to buy you drinks. The secret's out. But these days, not as much. And when I do drink, it's usually I'll look at the menu and select something that I will enjoy. And true story. So last year when I did travel the world, one of the places that I had stayed at was in Huntingdon with Will. Will and his girlfriend Alyssa. And I never used to like gin. And then, this is going to sound posh as heck, we went over to Cambridge.
Yeah.
And Alyssa introduced me to some gin over there. And I was like, oh, I think I really like gin now. And so that night I was just drinking gin, and it was really good. I don't know. It was good.
Lots of gins come from
Is
Scotland.
gin vegan?
Well, that's why I was asking about alcohol, actually.
Yeah, is gin a vegan thing? I know there are some alcohols that...
I think it's fine. Like, I think the biggest offenders for being non-vegan are wine and beer.
Wine and beer, because of the finings that they use on it.
But like, so here's the thing where you can drive yourself insane, right? Because sugar is used to make alcohol almost without exception.
Yeah.
And actually, if you go really hardcore, a lot of refined white sugar, which is what they use to make alcohol, is not vegan because they use bone char to refine sugar.
Correct.
So, you know, it's...
That's what I was asking, because I know people that were like very strong, I'm vegetarian, I'm vegan, but they drink beers and stuff, and I'm like, you can't drink that. I feel like, what do you mean I can't drink that? And I'm like, they use finings in that. What's that? Fish gills?
Yeah, well...
It's fish gills and scales.
Fish guts.
They pour it on top, and it sinks down, and it takes all the loose bits and stuff out of it.
Crap to the bottom.
I'm like, oh, well, I didn't know that. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I didn't know that, and I'm like, I'm not even vegetarian or vegan, and I know this.
Like, there's no, like, the thing is, but this is, it's, you can't be that radical about it, otherwise everybody will just not change.
Yeah.
Like, there'll be no change if everybody thinks they have to be perfect. Like, somebody chose to pick a fight with me on Facebook about something. I can't even remember what it was. It's probably like the avocado thing. I probably posted up a picture of some food with an avocado, and like, you know, they're murdering all the Guatemalans for avocados. And I'm like, fucking hell, man. Do you know what? I'm just trying to do my best. And if everybody just tried to do their best and be a little bit kinder and shop a little bit more ethically, and like, you know, I get that not everybody has a lot of money to spend on stuff, right? But I buy clothes maybe once a year. You know, I don't use fast fashion.
You should see the shipping containers of clothes that she buys that once a year.
No, I don't. I buy like a pair of jeans once a year, and they like.
Did you call them beans? Is that vegan jeans, or did I just miss here? Did you call them beans?
I did not call them beans, no. But I do buy ethical. But I do buy ethical jeans. Where I can, actually, that's not true, because the last pair came from Marks and Spencer's. There was an emergency situation. I won't go in.
I think you have to now. You can't say I'm not going in there. This is where the podcast veers off into.
Really
Hi, Alison.
It's not that interesting. So what happened is Laura and I were going
shit
for
your pants.
I did not. And you know what? That would be more interesting, and I actually wish that was the story. But and it wasn't even a piss-related story. Laura and I were going to meet with a new client, and I have a standing desk. And because I'm just an obnoxious person, I have a tendency to like occasionally put my foot up on a chair or something like that. And as I did that, like the thigh of my jeans just ripped.
Oh.
I had to go to Marks and Spencer's and buy some jeans.
Did you go there with your ripped groinal jeans?
I did, yeah. And I was almost escorted out by security.
Because they were like, she's too straight edge for us.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've got a half-shaved head, so they just thought I was a hipster. It's all good.
No. Apparently, jeans with 90% of them missing cost more money these days.
Jeans with what?
With like 90% of them missing cost more money these days.
Yeah, the whole ripped jeans and
Yeah, and like
jeans
90, like the whole knee from the mid thigh to the mid shins missing. So that's like £400.
That's a brilliant. I posted up a brilliant one on Facebook that came up in my Facebook memories the other day. I'll find it for you and tag you in it. But it's basically just like the waistband and the seams down the side.
Like reverse slacks.
Yeah, I'm just like, holy shit! Like, I don't. Why?
Chaps
just
are coming back in.
Yeah, like, well, they never left for some of this, Mark.
Well, that's another podcast for After Hours. But I think, for me, I think you're kind of right there, Alison, how you're summarising that. You can't do anything 100% that way, because you would live in a fear bubble. You wouldn't come out of that bubble because of, you can't get in the car because it's some sort of plastic that's got fish in it, or it's got animals in it. You can't do this. You can't do that.
The only car that's got seats. So Tesla is pretty much the only car
that's why
that has leather seats that are, or pleather seats Like, I bought an electric car, great for the environment, but it's got leather seats.
But it's not great for the environment because the batteries are actually trash.
This is another example.
Oh yeah, and I
This is
set
another
100 mile an hour
example,
just burn petrol. So
yeah.
But do you know what? Again, it's another example of where people they just don't even want to try because, like I know that some of the battery production is a dirty process, but actually it's a really small part of the battery, and they do recycle the batteries. So like it's not really as bad as everybody thinks it is. Is it really
used to be
clean?
worse than it is now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like, is it really clean? No. Is it cleaner than driving around a fuel-based car? Yes. Like, does any of that stuff compare to having a child? No. The worst carbon footprint on the planet is having a child, right? So like you could drive it, and I could drive electric cars for the rest of my life and literally try and leave no carbon footprint, and it wouldn't even make up for one child. So like none of it's perfect. It's a zero-sum game though. Like, and the ethos that I live by is just to educate myself as much as I can to do as little amount of harm to others. And I realize I have an iPhone, so some poor child had to screw in tiny components for like less than 10 pence a day or whatever. But I can't be perfect, but I do the best that I can, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where we kind of went with Scottish Summit. We can't do as much as we can, but do you know what? If we can get everyone to eat one meal. So I don't know if you've seen it, Alison, there was a documentary that the BBC done recently. It was like a 3-parter.
I don't watch any TV, so no.
Right, okay.
I'm literally the worst person. I know that.
So there's a documentary where they had somebody who was a hardcore vegan activist. They had somebody who was a vegan cook, and basically they tried to educate people in a village on how to do it. And I've totally lost why I was going down this route now.
It was about people trying but not being perfect. Because you can't, like, the thing is, but like,
I mean, Mark, you can try, but you can't be perfect. You forgot halfway through your story, and that's
I
fine.
know. I was too busy trying to remember what it was called there.
Always perfect to me. But like, this is the thing that, like, I don't understand. I don't go out of my way to tell people that I'm vegan, right? But invariably, if there's some food involved or something like that, then if it comes up as a subject, you get the really staunch meat eaters that then start going, what about this? What about avocados? What about there was something else that required bees for cross. I think it was avocados again. You need bees to cross pollinate trees, so they're not vegan and stuff. And I'm like, why just point some of that at yourself instead of worrying about me being perfect? Why didn't you just try and do a bit better? Do you know what I mean? Why is it? I'm not being sanctimonious to anybody. I'm not, judging them for eating their meat, and it's the needling, and the reason people do that is because Louisa Freeze said it against a comment. She tweeted against Emma Darcy's post on Twitter today about somebody had said something shitty to her about her weight, and Louisa Freeze had tweeted a reply saying they fight in you what they hate in themselves. And that's absolutely true. Every time someone picks at you for something, it's 0% about you and it's 100% about them. And that was when I realized that was the point at which I stopped trying to defend my veganism and I stopped trying to educate other people on veganism. Because once you see what happens in the meat industry and in the dairy industry, and you see other people going, yeah, but bacon, you have no idea how much of a psychopath someone like that looks like to someone like me who's seen the films of what happens to those animals. And for someone who hasn't bothered to get any education about it to go, yeah, but bacon's delicious, it just makes them look like a psychopath. But there is no point in me trying to educate them. Like, they're not ready to receive that information, and trying to push something on someone is like Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, not Jehovah's Witnesses, but people trying to push their religion on you, or if you're anti-gay, then you're not going to get swayed by a gay pride parade and suddenly go, well, actually, do you know what? Men look quite attractive to me now. It doesn't work like that. But the Game Changers was a great thing because it made people look at things from how it affects them, because people are only interested in them and what it means to them. And I know that there's some science to prove and disprove absolutely everything. And that's why people are fearful of change, because nobody knows what the real story is. But the only story I can tell you is I feel better for not having dairy, and I felt better consciously for not having meat. And that's my journey, and that's why I choose to go on. And I find actually that these days, because being vegan 5 years ago was hard. And these days it's so much easier, and people talk about it so much more, and it's so much more widespread that actually I find the majority of people are interested in it now. Like you guys wanting to do this podcast, you're interested in it, and interested in knowing like, oh, what changes can I make? And actually, if that's the change that happens as a result of game changes or Cowspiracy or anything like that, if people just go plant-based 80% of the time and then have a burger or bacon or whatever it is that they feel that they have to have at the weekend, or 2 days a week, then everybody's happier, the planet's happier, there'd be fewer cow deaths, and cow death is a problem. I've got 4 stomachs and I'm trying to make up, but I can only replace one cow. That's the best that I can.
So Alison's background at the moment is Pulp Fiction, and that is definitely her Ezekiel 25:17 speech, isn't it?
What would Jesus do? So I remembered where I was going with that one. So on the BBC programme, they were trying to get everyone to sign up for just having one vegan meal, either paired for one vegan meal, vegan for a day, vegan for a week, or vegan for a month. And that's kind of what spurred us on to say, right, let's try and get everyone to have one vegan meal, because that changes it. But that documentary also had the hardcore activist who was outside the slaughterhouses throwing the stuff onto stuff, and it's like there's 2 sides of things, so it's trying to find the best way, and it is just educating somebody, I think.
I think Alison's point that she was getting at there as well is more people ask questions about it now. 5 years ago it was oh my god, how did you survive being vegan, whereas now it's actually the song and dance of that question has changed. Now it's actually how do you do it? Because people aspire to actually eat healthier. They believe it's healthier. They believe that it's not the Smith's meat is murder, but meat is murder in some extent. And there's good things, there's bad things about it. And I'm definitely at that point where I think, well, for my health, I know that would be better.
Yeah.
As Alice says, like the type 1, type 2 diabetes, fat around the stomach and all that kind of stuff, there's definitely positives in there for me. I just don't know how to do it. I don't know how to bring my whole family into that. I don't know how to cook in the house more like that. And it's not that I don't know how to cook in the house. I just have more stuff in the house. Like I have a freezer where I bulk buy meat. It's much easier to bulk buy meat and freeze it, and good quality meat and freeze it, than it is to buy vegetables fresh. I'll go and I'll buy frozen veg, and see by the time I cook it, it's just mush. There's absolutely no palate to it. It's horrendous. I won't even put it in soup because I think it's horrendous. I don't really like it. So if I'm cooking veg, it has to be fresh.
Yeah, but see, this is the thing. I don't even have a freezer. Like, why do you need a freezer?
Because it's what I've known for years. It's what my mum had. It's exactly that. It's just what you have in your house, right?
Do you know what? Like, here's a story for you as well. And I think part of it is talking about food as being vegan or plant-based and stuff. And I think that scares people. And this is no word of a lie. Years ago, I went to a nutritionist, and she said, get rid of dairy. I wish I'd listened to her. She said, get rid of the dairy and replace it with like rice milk and stuff like that. And I remember buying rice milk and going, it's milk from rice. That can't be right. I'm not happy with that. I'm not happy with that shit at all, right? And I wouldn't drink it. I tried it, and I'm like, no, I don't like it. And I had this, and it was all mental, right? Because rice milk is actually fucking delicious. It's like really creamy tasting. It's one of the nicest things you'd ever drink. It looks a bit questionable, but it tastes amazing, right? And now I think it's weird that we would drink cow juice. And the fact that I was okay with it, it's normalization, it's indoctrination. That's what you're raised on. That's what you know, right? And
who was the first person that sat down at a cow's teat and had milk?
Fuck knows.
Somebody did that at some point. How did they know, right?
Like, who was the first person that fucked a monkey and gave everybody AIDS? That's my ignorance showing there. It's just a
and
joke.
I think
Please don't phone in. It's just for fun.
And I think on that one, I think that's a good point to wrap up on.
I was just going to say one thing. Like, my dad won't eat something if you tell him it's vegan, right? And
My kids are like that.
And yet he actually 50% of his diet is vegan.
Yeah, see, my kids don't know half the time. So if I do a vegetable or like a cauliflower or broccoli curry,
if they don't know now that you're giving them vegetarian or vegan food, you're doing it wrong, Mark, since you've been doing it for months. But anyway.
Like, maybe the thing to do then is for me to share some of the stuff that we eat. Part of the problem as well is your palate changes. Like if
Yeah,
I
it
eat
does.
now the stuff
Yeah.
that I used to eat before I was vegan, it tastes like shit. But it's what I used to enjoy then, right? And like my palate is completely changed now. So the things that I eat now, I find absolutely delicious. And I don't think it works that well if like if you're a meat eating family and you suddenly interject, well, today we're going to have Buddha bowls with chopped fresh raw broccoli and quinoa and tempeh, curried tempeh, and some radish and stuff like that. Like with and I make this absolutely, it's one of the nicest dressings you'll ever have with tahini and lemon juice and olive oil, and it's like that's one of my favorite things to eat. It's absolutely delicious. But I'm under no illusions. If I serve that up to, say, you, Ian, you'll probably go, this is not doing it for me. Like
It's
you
the
might.
quinoa, everything else I'm up about, but the quinoa, I'm just like, that's a non-food.
But it isn't, because like in our house we eat.
What is it?
It's a grain, right?
It's
It's a
grain.
grain. Yeah, it's an ancient grain, and it's got a really good protein.
It's ancient. It's only been on the market for the last 6 months, as far as I know.
Well, that's just you, I think. But,
Quinoa and kale.
see, kale,
actually,
again,
I
kale
think,
is
right,
delicious.
to kind of summarise where we are for me in this, obviously I came to this looking for an educational piece as well. It's to like not sway me 100% to why go in this way, but it's the pros and cons of it. And we've been chatting for like an hour and a half or something at this point, and all I've got is more thirst, more kind of want for knowledge on it than I had before. I'm kind of excited to go and learn a bit more about it and try and educate myself on it, because as much as I eat meat, chicken breast is boring. It's got no taste to it. Like, everybody has chicken breast, but it's absolutely no taste to it. So what can I substitute that with? I can substitute that with something else. Of course I can. It's just about the protein element at that point. Like as I mentioned before, like going to the gym and doing the stuff I was doing there, it was a lot of weight training and a lot of strength stuff. So I was always like, oh, I need protein. But at the same time, I can get that protein from other sources. I know that. Like I didn't realize chickpeas were really high in protein, but one of my favorite dishes I've had recently is a yellow Thai curry with chickpea and broccoli.
Yep.
Absolutely love it. Like it's one of the best things I've eaten.
Yeah. I'll send you another recipe for Thai curry that anybody I've sent it to, it becomes their go-to Thai curry. It's absolutely delicious. But like the thing is, if you go into the gym and you're wary of not meeting your protein requirement, and I promise you, if you're eating enough fresh vegetables, you would be hitting your protein requirement. But if you're worried about it, just have a protein shake when you leave the gym, and then just eat plant-based. Like that's
exactly.
Also,
as you say, I don't need to be 100% going to that vegan element, but I want a vegan protein shake. Yeah, it would be nice to have it.
I've got the vegan protein shakes.
No, you can get them. I've got protein shakes here, and the company that I buy them from, they do vegan vegan ones, but protein shakes are a bit meh at the same time, right? But yeah,
they are. But like, if you just want to make
25 grams for the amount of protein you get in it, with some water, it's ridiculous, right? You can't complain.
Exactly.
But that's where you mix it with your milk, so your soya milk.
Yeah, no, mix it with water.
You mix them with water.
The one I have, I mix with water, and it's like pudding. It's delicious. Yeah, really.
Depends on the flavours. Again, it's down to personal preference, right? Because you get people that will mix it with fruit and water or do different stuff.
Most people go for chocolate, which is always an error. Chocolate flavoured shakes are never good. Always go vanilla or strawberry.
And strawberry cream.
Yeah. Here's the best evidence that you could ever want. Like, people don't believe that I'm nearly 50 because my skin is good, right? And I say that's down to being vegan and vegetarian. Some people say it's because I haven't had kids, but I think I definitely look a lot younger than my age.
Maybe both of that's down to vegan and vegetarianism, though. Like Joan.
Not having kids. Yeah.
Vegan, not getting near her.
My boyfriend's vegan.
I know.
Have you met him? He looks like Tom Hardy.
Can't comment. Not me. Don't know.
Well, I
would have
preferred Ryan Reynolds, but.
Yes, Eliza.
Before we go, because I actually do have to go and start work in a few minutes, I do want to say I really respect Mark for his choices, because, I mean, as we saw with the documentary on Netflix, Game Changers, it's not really embraced for males to go vegan, and I don't know why. And so usually when males do go vegan, people tend to get a bit shocked because they associate males with, muscles and meat and stuff. So, I really think it's awesome that Mark has decided to try the plant-based journey, and I respect any males that go through it. And one of the males that actually influenced me into becoming vegan is a YouTuber called Simnett Nutrition. So his name is Derek Simnett. He's based out in Vancouver Island. He's on YouTube. Go look him up.
Yes,
He
he's
is
amazing.
actually, he is a trained and certified nutritionist, and he's vegan. And so, Ian, if you watch his YouTube series, you'll see that he's still doing well in terms of being, a good athlete or fitness guru, because he embodies everything that you think a vegan can't do. And so for me, I'm always like, it's always cool whenever I meet males who are vegan, because they've been like, you know what? I don't care what people think. I don't care if people think less of me because I've gone vegan. And so,
It shocks me to
that's all I wanted to
hear.
say.
It shocks me to hear that you've experienced that, and that's something that we could talk about on our podcast as well, that there is that stigma still attached to it being a male-female thing. That's something that I hadn't even considered, so it's quite shocking to hear that, as I say. But props to that, actually, Mark, if that is the case, definitely.
Round of applause.
So what we're going to do, Ian, is you're going to commit to trying it for a day then?
I'd do longer than a day. That's not a challenge.
I think the best thing you can do for yourself is to change your palate. Like, if you can do enough to change your palate so that you actually start to eat differently, then that's the biggest change.
I know, Eliza, you're going to go, Eliza, and that's obviously we need to kind of wrap up at that point. So definitely thank you for coming along. But on the kind of meat thing, I wouldn't miss it. Every meal that I have has veg and lots of veg in it. I purposely put lots of veg in it as that, but it's just swapping that meat bit out and knowing what else I can put in it, and that's where I struggle.
More veg. Just put more veg in it.
Yeah. And on that note, I will go obviously buy more veg then, right? Cool. Thank you very much for time, Eliza. Enjoy your working day. It's the night for us, and you have woke up super early to join this podcast. So actually, props to you for doing that, and hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully you've had a blast, and it'll keep you going during the day.
Thank you.